The legal and policy landscape surrounding cryptocurrencies around the world has changed in the past few years. The past 4 years has seen cryptocurrencies become ubiquitous, prompting more national and regional authorities to grapple with their regulation. The expansive growth of cryptocurrencies makes it a space that many are interested in and many more want to play in. To take us through some of the conversations happening around cryptocurrencies, I have Seun Dania. He is the CEO of Tradefada. Seun, welcome again. Thank you so much for joining us right here on News Central. All right, so you play in the cryptocurrency space, and we have a number of brands. We might all hear Bitcoin a lot, but it's just more than Bitcoin. There's Litecoin, there's Lisk, there's XRP, there's Dash, there's Monero. All of them are quite common here on the continent. What particularly made Bitcoin the standout among all of them?
Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency ever made. So whoever it is that created it, pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, released the white paper on peer-to-peer money, transferring money peer-to-peer, described how Bitcoin, will be created. And after that was 2008, and a year later, in 2009, he released the code open source, So then created it on the internet, and they created a forum called Bitcoin Talk, where people now different developers started working around it, and people explored it and saw that, well, this was a well thought out process. This is well thought out, technology, and people started building on it. So of course there were flaws, there were some issues, in terms of speed of the network, because traditionally, the way Bitcoin was designed was for you to be able to mine on your computer. So you can download on your computer, you have on your computer, everybody has on their computers. And basically you are a miner, you can process transactions. But of course it's now started, when more and more people started using it, when the network started expanding, it required more than a basic computer. People now had to now start investing in mining rigs, because it's proof of work technology. That means you must solve that cryptographic, it's mathematical, cryptography, so you must solve it, and that takes a lot of computing power. So a lot of people your computer actually has to do that work to solve it, then you get a reward for it, and that's what processes the transaction. So without any central middleman. So Bitcoin being the premier one was what a lot of people, and human beings, we like to be fixed in one thing. Sure. Even though we like to develop on other things, when people say, yes, this is Bitcoin, everybody's like, yeah, Bitcoin is the number one thing. So everybody is fixated on the original.
So depending on the name, there are different ones. Is there any difference between them except for the name?
Yeah, there are a lot of differences.
Okay.
So like I said, Bitcoin works on proof of work.
Okay. What about some of the
Ethereum works proof of stake. So Ethereum is basically, you need to stake some amount of money for you to be able to process a transaction. So that's why it's proof of stake. Proof of work is Bitcoin. And quite a number of other ones have, different other protocols that they work with. And, with Ethereum, you can build smart contracts. Ethereum itself is not a coin. It's Ether is the currency. But because Ethereum is a protocol, everybody just calls Ethereum. But Ether is the currency that's used to facilitate. Ether is basically, it's called gas fees. That's what you're used to process your transactions within the Ethereum network. So you have other ones like other protocols who have seen, okay, Ethereum is not working fine, because of course with Ethereum also, as prices started going up, cost of transactions started increasing, and it wasn't functional. So that's where, currencies like Ripple came up, Ripple and I think Stellar Lumens, that's XML. Those ones were created to facilitate transactions at the lowest fees possible. Okay. I think same thing with Tron, same thing with Cardano. Most of them actually all work together.
So it's interesting when you talk about how all of these sort of came about. So with us, with Bitcoin particularly, it's the first has sort of become the best. It's the one that's most tried, most tested, most accepted by the market. So Bitcoin, and by extension, all of it in terms of cryptocurrency, have been called disruptive technologies. Or disruptive technology. But for us here on the continent, how disruptive have cryptocurrencies been?
It is disrupting the traditional system, because people always believe, okay, the big guys don't want the small guys to make money. So some people say it is a transfer of wealth. Basically, so you see somebody who
liberalizing it,
who didn't have anything. I was able, and just thought, oh well, let me buy Bitcoin, and bought 1,000 Bitcoin, maybe when it was $1 or something, and now it's about 50-something K for each Bitcoin. Wealth has been transferred to him. That kind of person might never have been able to make money in his entire life. He might not just work, pay bills and die.
When it comes to regulations of the cryptocurrency space, what is the best? How is the best way to regulate the space? Because let's take Nigeria as an example. We've seen the circular, and the CBN blatantly said this is an unregulated space. We cannot protect your investment. If you put money in it and something happens, you can't come to us to ask for money. The same way you have the Nigerian Deposits Insurance Corporation. It's not a bank that has insurance on whatever it is that you are holding, that the bank is holding for you. So when it comes to regulations, what do you envision regulation in the cryptocurrency space to look like?
When the government is talking about we are not going to be able to protect them, everybody's wondering, hello, as in, what are you talking about? Stock markets crash. These are companies that are physical, where people can see. They crash. People invest in stock market, they end up getting dividends of a certain very little over a couple of years. That is the traditional banking. That's traditional investments. But when you're constantly using value on, treasury bills, bonds, and all of these things, people need to look for alternative measure. Regulation for cryptocurrency space is not. You cannot regulate something that was designed to be unregulated.
Okay.
What I believe you can do is, like some other countries, the government issues a digital currency, which is probably what's on the news today. That way, you are making sure that you're spending less on printing money. I mean, even with cashless society, we already, probably we should have recorded some level of, savings. But yeah, you spend less on printing money, and you are now able to absorb that, so to say, intangible assets that people are transacting in. So for government, it's about, hey, these are the players, this is what you do, this is what you are the intermediaries. Come, let us all work together. We regulate you, we make sure you do your customer due diligence, you make sure you report certain transactions about certain values, you make sure that you also, your technology is standard. You must abide. If you're accepting card payments, you must abide by the PCI DSS standards.
Some safety
You must abide by maybe ISO 27001. Basically, there are a lot of, and make sure that, yes, your systems are properly audited and all these things. And then countries in general play in the space. Create digital currencies are here to stay forever and ever. The technology is fantastic. It's a lot of savings. So government should play in that space, create their own digital currencies, regulate the players who want to play in that industry, and let them know this is how it is. It's not going to stop everybody else who doesn't want to be controlled by the government, but that way you reward, and then you ensure that you reward people who are constantly playing by those rules. And when you reward them, everybody will want to play by the rules.
And people will rather go to the people playing by the rules.
So if governments generally give people will develop these technologies. Now, those people, because those institutions are now responsible. The government cannot take on all the responsibility. You make sure that these institutions are responsible for the people. You make sure that these institutions are secure. That is how you protect the customers or the investors' assets. You can't protect by just saying, oh yes, I need to ensure. If this is not insured by this, the government can't take on everything. So create regulation, create your own tokens, let people be able to transact using that one. It's exportable. You get money from it. If I can send digital naira to somebody outside this country, and the person is willing to accept digital naira and spend that digital naira in another country, it's a plus for Nigeria.
Okay, so Seun, finally, we'll end this conversation with a bit of focus on Nigeria. We've seen what is happening with the cryptocurrency space in the country. So data from Chain Analysis Nigeria said that they saw crypto transactions of over $2.3 billion between June 2019 and June 2020, 1 year. $2.3 billion worth of transactions. When you see the recent restrictions and you see the line that the Central Bank of Nigeria is towing, what do you think is really the future for cryptocurrencies in Nigeria?
People will still use it. So the future for cryptocurrency, there are two ways. If the government regulates, fantastic. A lot of people will come into it. A lot of people will play within that space. It's risky. There's nothing that is risk-free in the whole world. It's risky. People will choose to come in that space, and play. They are what you call stable coins, which are the government issue. Well, not government issue, but they are hedged to particular currencies. Like you have a USD stable coin, which is always done. Some people want to do transactions. Hey, I do not want to use Bitcoin because Bitcoin can be volatile. Yeah. So I will will transact using a stable coin, which I know is always $1 for $1. I send it to the person, $1,000. The person receives $1,000, gets the value. You know, simple and short, so people can choose.
Okay.
So for Africa too for Nigeria, it's the same thing. You know, the future is government needs to. There's no. Otherwise, we'll end up having a thriving black market. I remember a couple of months ago, the government still issued a circular, asking the Bureau de Change operators to sell dollar at a particular price. But are they doing that now? What can they do about it? Can you clamp down on all the exchange? So right now, the government should be realizing that they have the power, but there's a level where you flex that power to. You flex it. When you flex, you say, oh, don't sell above 385. 1 week, okay, Naira goes back to this thing. But then there's still demand for that dollar, and then those guys cannot meet up. So of course the price has to go back up, and you can't do anything. How many exchange operators do you want to go after? So the future it's here to stay. It's technology that is here to stay. It might not be Bitcoin tomorrow, that might be the greatest. It might not be Ethereum, it might not be Cardano, it might not be whichever one that we currently know as of now. But it is definitely here to stay. And for Nigeria, the adaptation, it will breed new innovation. It will lead to this creation of infrastructure that we are talking about. It will build a new crop of millionaires, new crop of billionaires who will invest in this country and develop the country at a pace that the older generation wasn't able to.
All right, I think that's a good note to end on, because it leaves a lot of food for thought. The possibilities that cryptocurrency holds, not just for Nigeria, but also for the continent. Seun Dania, CEO of Tradefada, thank you so much for joining us on News Central.